Go ahead and call the regular meeting for January 27th to order. And as is our usual practice, I'm going to look for one of my colleagues to pass a motion or put a motion on the floor to adopt the agenda. Please and thank you. Councillor Reid, over to you.
I would like to move the adoption of the agenda as presented.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor? That carries. Let's do the same thing for the minutes of our last meeting. Everyone's looking at you, Councillor Flowers.
I'd like to move that we accept the minutes of January 13th, 2025.
Okay, nothing stood out. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Approved. We do not have any delegations tonight. We do have a number of business items, starting with 5A, which is the Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Partnership Program application. I see Mr. Tooth is in the house tonight.
You got it.
Welcome.
Awesome. Good to go. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This evening I'm here seeking Council support for a grant application under the Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Partnership Program. The application is for our planned wastewater disposal system twinning project. The Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Partnership, which launched in 1991, provides cost-shared funding to eligible municipalities to help build municipalities' facilities for water supply and treatment and wastewater treatment and disposal. A requirement of the grant application is for Council to make a motion to apply for funding for the project. Potential funding is calculated as a percentage of eligible project costs based on the municipality's official population when the grant is approved. The town of Cochrane is eligible for 8% funding given our recent census population of 37,011. Once all 5 phases of the wastewater disposal system have been completed, Cochrane will be able to support a theoretical population of 113,000 people. I guess I'll leave that up. I'll go here first. So that concludes my brief presentation. Thank you for your time. I welcome any comments you may have and respectfully request the Council endorse a grant application under the Alberta Municipal Water and Wastewater Partnership Program. I'll flip back to that slide just for information. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Councillor Reid, you're first up.
Yeah, I would move that Council endorse the application under the Alberta Municipalities Water and Wastewater Partnership Program. That's a mouthful. Just wanted to say I think this is a really great initiative, and I was thinking, how long have you been with the town now?
I've been with Cochrane for about 3.5 years now.
3.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. The time goes by fast, but I just wanted to publicly say, and I'm not speaking for all of Council, but for myself, but you know, this and the other contributions that you've made to the town have been really noticeable. And I think have moved Cochrane and our administration forward in a major way. And so I think this is another example of the hard work you and your team, I appreciate, are doing, and I'm happy to support it.
Thank you.
Councillor Flowers.
I would just add thank you too for applying for this. I know that we have to get this work done no matter what, so the more money we can get in, the better. Thank you.
No problem.
Councillor Federico.
Through Mr. Dercott, thank you. I imagine that obviously this is just an endorsement of the grant, but if we're not successful, then there's still more conversation that happens, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Nagel.
I just wanted to clarify for the public's sake that when we're talking about over 100,000 people, this is a 30-year timeline. It's not like something we're not planning for this kind of growth like this decade or even next, right?
Exactly.
30-year outlook.
Or more, depending on how fast we get to 113,000 people.
Okay, thanks.
I would also add, if I may, through the chair, that that's a projection, not a goal. That's just based on the numbers and the studies that we've seen over the past 10 years.
Question from me, and I completely agree with endorsing the grant tonight. And this might be a detail that you may not have, but okay. Can we couple or stack grants in this on top of this one?
Through the Mayor. Yes, we can stack grants. I was researching before this started, but I couldn't get a clear answer. But I believe this is project-based, this grant specifically. So if there are other eligible water and wastewater grants, we should be able to apply again. And we do intend to apply for other grants to try and support this project.
That was right where I was going with
Yeah.
that, so thank you. I don't see any other questions. Looks like that's it for this one. All those in favor? Approved, endorsed. Thank you. 5B is Bylaw 02-2025, Electronic Communications Bylaw. Mr. Alim, up for first reading tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My presentation is on the Electronic Communication Bylaw 02-2025, and the recommended action is that Council approves first reading to Bylaw 02-2025. So currently, the town's property assessment and tax notices are sent to residents and businesses by mail. Excuse me. Some of the issues with this method include printing and mailing costs, and this would entail paper and the envelopes for the notices, as well as postage. Potential mailing delays, mainly from the carrier, which is Canada Post, and of course the environmental impact. To mitigate these issues, Bylaw 02-2025 will allow the town to send notices and other documents under Part 9, Assessment of Property, and Part 10, Taxation, by electronic means as prescribed under the MG, or Municipal Government Act, Sections 608.1 to Section 608.5. The Electronic Communications Bylaw will contain 3 key provisions. First, authorization for electronic delivery. The bylaw will authorize the town to send property assessment and tax notices electronically as an alternative to conventional mail. This will be accomplished by utilizing email or a secure online portal. Second, consent requirements. Property owners must actively opt in to receive notices electronically. The town will solicit from residents written or digital consent for electronic delivery, and the town will provide clear instructions on how to opt out and revert to paper notices. And third, secure delivery mechanisms. This ensures notices are delivered using secure and reliable technology. The town will utilize current standards of encryption and password-protected portals to safeguard personal information, and notifications will contain timestamps to confirm delivery. The electronic communications timeline. So today, administration is seeking first reading of this bylaw. On February 10th, tentatively, administration will be bringing back this bylaw for second and third reading. From February to May 2025, we'll begin the communication campaign enrollment, and this would include advertising in the local newspaper and the town's website, as well as social media such as Facebook and LinkedIn. In closing, if we assume a 50% opt-in participation in the program, the town could realize a $25,000 reduction in mailing and printing costs year over year. That concludes my presentation for tonight.
Well, thank you for that. And this was our recent agenda item on a committee of the whole meeting, so nothing new to council. Look for a motion for first reading. Thank you, Councillor Flowers.
I would like to move that council give first reading to Bylaw 02-2025. Seems like a good idea.
Yeah. Okay, I don't see any questions. We can certainly ask a lot at second reading. I'll call the question. All those in favor are approved. Carried.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 5C, we have Bylaw 04-2025, the Waste Management Bylaw Amendment for second and third reading. Mr. Juden.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and Councillors. Tonight, administration is seeking second and third readings for amendments to Waste Management Bylaw 04-2025. As previously discussed, the amendments are very straightforward and are focused on specified increases and the additional requirement for construction bins to be covered. That concludes this presentation. I welcome any comments you may have and respectfully request council accept the recommendation to provide second and third reading to bylaw 04/2025.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate the brevity of your presentation, as we've seen this multiple times over the last month or two. Councillor Nagel.
I move second reading, and I'm happy to be supporting it. I've seen this problem in action in our community, and I'm happy to see us taking some action to make it better. Thanks.
Anyone else want to weigh in on second reading? No, I echo what Councillor Nagel's saying. I think this is a good move, proactive, actually reactive move to some of the behaviors that we're seeing in our community. So really support the move by administration to bring this forward. So thank you for that. Call the question. All those in favor of second reading? Carried. Councillor Nagel, do you want to carry on with third reading?
Sure, I'll move third reading of bylaw 04/2025.
Excellent. All those in favor of that? That carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're cruising through the fives. We're in 5D, the Cochrane Municipal Policing Committee. Back to you, Mr. Juden.
Again, good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and councillors. I'm here tonight to speak to the proposed Cochrane Municipal Policing Committee bylaw that is required to establish a policing committee under Bill 6, the Police Amendment Act. The primary purpose of the committee is to enhance police accountability and strengthen public trust by providing civilian oversight of local policing services. Following the Council of the Whole meeting on January 20th, where the bylaw was discussed, Council requested some amendments prior to first reading, and I can report back that Section 4.1 has been amended to provide clarity for the composition of the committee. Section 4.12 sub F, the terms the CAO have been replaced with administration. And under Schedule A, referring to remuneration, that actual schedule has been removed. Now, reimbursement for costs associated to training will be addressed in a new section, Section 6, Training and Expenses. Expenses must be pre-authorized by the chair and approved by the executive director for reimbursement from the policing committee's annual budget. Committee members are eligible for various training opportunities that include those offered by the Solicitor General's Department and police governance organizations, subject to budget constraints and approval from the chair in consultation with the director. This establishes a check and balance procedure where expenses undergo multiple levels of review and approval, safeguarding the proper use of funds. That concludes this presentation. Thank you for your time. I welcome any questions or comments that you may have and respectfully request that Council accept the recommendation to provide first reading to Cochrane Municipal Policing Committee Bylaw 03/2025.
Okay, thank you for that. Again, another agenda item we've just seen. Councillor Reid?
Yeah, I would move that council give first reading to bylaw 03/2025. I just wanted to comment on two things. One is I really appreciate the fact that the council was heard. Councillor Fadeco's concern about section 4.12 and our Councillor Fadeko, my own concerns about remuneration. I'm glad to see that those have been addressed, and I'm really comfortable with where this is tracking, so thank you for that.
Okay, seeing no more questions, all those in favor? That is first reading. Thank you.
Thank you.
5E, council appointments to standing and external committees. Ms. Robertson is making her way to the podium.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This evening, in your agenda package is the report specific to the council appointments to standing and external committees. Further to the appointments made at the organizational meeting on October 24th and discussions at the January 13th regular council meeting, administration is bringing forward recommendations that are in line with the request from Councillor Fadeko to be appointed to specific committees. The two committees identified included the Bow Rivers Edge Campground Society Capital Reinvestment Subcommittee and the Rocky View Handy Bus Society. When appointments were completed at the organizational meeting, Councillor Federico remained on the Cochrane Rocky View Handy Bus Society, so there is no recommendation required to change that appointment. Administration is, however, requesting Councillor Federico be appointed as the council representative to the Bow Rivers Edge Campground Society Capital Reinvestment Subcommittee and rescind the previous appointment of Councillor McFadden for a term to begin today and expire on October 20th, 2025. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have on those appointments.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Reid.
Yeah, happy to appoint Councillor Federico to the Bow Rivers Edge Campground Society Capital Investment Subcommittee. That's quite a title as well.
And, okay, and rescind the appointment of Councillor McFadden. Yeah, okay. All those in favor of that motion? That carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we breezed through that business section. There are no notices of motion tonight. I do have a mayor's report. It's been a busy couple of weeks. I'll go through just the highlights here. And I bring this one up just as the occasion was Malanka. It's the New Year's and Christmas celebration by the Ukraine community. And I'm happy to report there's a new Ukraine Association of Cochrane that's been newly formed. That group hosted this event last Saturday night, and it was heartwarming to see the new individuals to our community here and the opening remarks by Tatiana, I have her name correct, speaking about not wanting to get into the reasons why they're here. Most of us know what's happening in the Ukraine, and more wanting to focus on the new home that they have found in Cochrane. And it's just, I think as we struggle and grapple with our growth in our community, one of the good things, the silver linings that we have experienced has been cultural diversity and the inclusion of some of these groups that are coming into our community. And it was just really, really nice to be able to bring remarks on behalf of council and our community to this organization. So all the best to them as they are planning next year's event already. I also attended the RCMP Coronation Medal presentation. It was here at the Ranch House last Thursday, I believe. And it was, the RCMP have decided to, they used to have these Coronation Medal presentations in Calgary or Edmonton. They're now choosing to do it in the smaller communities that can host. And we were chosen as one of those, and the Lieutenant Governor was here, and Reeve Kissel and I represented the county and Cochrane as a host, and over 50 RCMP members received medals, which is for, I should have written this down, but there was, to receive this medal, there's only 30,000 produced in all of Canada. For an RCMP member to receive this, they had to have done something through Truth and Reconciliation or youth, or a really interesting and cool initiative in their community. So Ryan Singleton, who lives in Cochrane, used to police here. He's now in Airdrie, was one of the recipients, but it was very, it was awesome to have it here in Cochrane in the Hall of Vision, but also just to see all of the red surges and all of the, and I got to have lunch with Lieutenant Governor, with Reeve Kissel, and Selma Lakani, the Honorable, is a very interesting woman with a really, really awesome background and just a gifted storyteller. And her journey of coming from Ghana in East Africa or Uganda, sorry, to Canada and then to Alberta is one of, is really interesting. So if you have a chance, look her up. And I've invited her to come and be with our council. She was really interested in doing that, so hopefully we can make that happen in the future. Had a meeting with Minister Nixon through Mid-Sized City Mayors, and we had a really good conversation about housing, affordable housing and seniors housing. And really nothing new to report other than the fact that Minister Nixon was very well versed on Cochrane and what we're trying to do with Big Hill Lodge and Bethany and others that are looking for funding through his portfolio. But through the merging of the his portfolio is being added to. There's an AHS arm that's now going into seniors and housing portfolio. He believes that they're going to overhaul the way that those grants are going to be distributed. We're all aware that, you know, Rocky View Foundation would apply for a grant for Big Hill Lodge and go to the province and put that in, and hopefully we get the maximum, which would be around $13 million, but we don't know. So we've done a lot of planning, or the foundation has, and spent money and design, and then in hopes that this would come to fruition. And we've recently learned last year that the Rocky View Foundation was denied. They're overhauling that whole process and looking at something, and the analogy that Minister Nixon used was something similar to what Alberta Transportation uses, where, and we experienced this through the interchange project, where the project would go to funding. So then you would see it in the budget in the province and know that you were on the list. So if this was the Big Hill Lodge, we would have some sort of daylight that, yes, they approved this project and that it's gonna move through. So then that would be stage one. Stage two would then be in the capital funding program. Then you would know when your project was going to get built. So a lot of the mayors on the call were really, you know, concerned about, like, we were spending all this planning money and getting nowhere. And the red tape and the lineups and the hope that we're clamoring over these funds, and it's oversubscribed every year. Is there a way that we can see this? And so it was a positive meeting. He said it's not going to be an overnight switch that he's going to flip, but I was interested and really optimistic in the conversation we had with Minister Nixon. TBD. I was able to connect with mayors of Canmore and Banff last week, and we talked about issues that we share in the Bow Valley region, and really focused on the Calgary Airport Banff Rail project. Little bit of an update there, and we each had different pieces of information, so it was good to connect all the dots. But as the province and Calgary work through their green line, and I'll just leave it there, the green line, they are now focused on the airport to downtown portion of that piece. Lyricon and Plenary, the group that is proposed to build and operate this rail, has now said that they don't need any additional funding from the province, that they would build it for $0 if the downtown to airport piece was covered either by Calgary or the province. So they've shifted gears, but now it's really on the province and the city getting that cleaned up, so that now Lyricon and Plenary can move off to the west. So it's a small paper step forward, but it's still progressing on that one. And today I had an interesting conversation with Canada Infrastructure Bank. And really, they approached me as chair of mid-sized cities, looking to really bring awareness to a housing funding initiative that they have announced, where it's all around having houses built in Canada, and with no tie to changing any zonings or land use. It was basically a funding mechanism, or a debt mechanism, but for a very reduced interest rate of around 3.25%. They use the federal government rate. So our municipal governments could access these funds for projects as a minimum of $50 million. So they would fund up to 50% of that, so 25 million. That could be anything that has anything to do with housing. So it could be a neighborhood, it could be, I've got this in my notes here, pipes, infrastructure, roadways, or a housing project itself. So pretty wide variety of things that they would be willing to look at through their funding mechanism, as I say. And so I've connected them with administration to have a conversation about, and we just heard about the wastewater pipeline. Maybe that's something, or affordable housing initiative, or Big Hill Lodge. There's at least, and I said to them on call today, I think our municipality has 3 or 5 projects that we could probably utilize this through. So again, it's debt servicing, not a loan or not a grant. So it's different, but it was exciting to hear that there's some initiatives out of the federal Canadian Infrastructure Bank that might utilize or help our communities. So that is my report for today. I would look to any of you for a councillor's report. Councillor Wilson.
I've got a not fully formed nugget of an idea, but I thought I would report it as part of our CPC dealings last Wednesday. We had a home-based business DP that came, development permit that came before CPC, and it was a somewhat novel home-based business where the potential to disturb neighbors in a somewhat dense residential setting was there, but not obvious. And in the end, after quite a bit of deliberation, CBC decided to create a probationary period with a check-in with administration after 1 year, essentially sort of come back, won't go to CPC, but just come back to administration and see, have we indeed disturbed any neighbors, or have we been good residential citizens like we expected them to, honestly, on the committee. And the only reason I'm bringing it up here for a nugget or a food for thought is I think it's something that could be expanded a lot more broadly in our land use bylaw, where almost any DP could benefit from significant red tape reduction, significant savings to the person trying to put a DP through if you had some sort of probationary period where administration could just go approved immediately and then come back after a certain amount of time and do a check-in. Have you disturbed your neighbors? Have you been good citizens in whatever context your business or your development permit is operating in? And if so, if you are checking those boxes and we aren't receiving complaints about your ongoing business, why are we stalling you in the beginning, and why are we holding up any development permit for that matter, and why are we charging so much for it? So I only thought to make mention of it here as something that we could talk about as a group, both on the council bench side and administrative side going forward with any land use bylaw related things. I think that probationary technique could be something that's, I don't think it's utilized at all. I don't know if many communities utilize it, and it'll be something that I'll just be keeping in mind, doing some more research on going forward. I think it's could be a really useful tool in the toolbox, if not a full revolution. So I just thought I'd mention it as a council report because we're trending so early tonight.
We have time, we can use it.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. I see a couple nods over there. It's in the intake. I don't see any other council reports. So we do have 3 closed session items tonight. So we will need a motion to go into closed session. Councillor Reid.
Yeah, I would make that motion that we move to closed session.
Okay, all those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Okay. Okay, I understand the feed is live, we're streaming. Need a motion to come out of closed session, please. Councillor Reid,
I'll make a motion to come out of closed session.
all those in favor? And that carries, and we do have a motion arising from the closed session. Councillor Wilson.
Yes, I would like to move that council, pardon me, a public motion for consideration here, that council direct the closed session meeting discussion remain confidential pursuant to section 24(1)G of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, and further that council direct administration to proceed with option 1 as presented.
Okay. No, that's already, that's in, yeah. No discussion, all those in favor of the motion? And that carries. And that concludes the business of this evening. This meeting is terminated.